I always thought our life was a tapestry woven with deliberate care. Each thread a choice, a promise, a moment shared between Clara and me. We'd been married 12 years. Our home a quiet sanctuary in the suburbs, filled with the hum of routine. Clara, with her sharp wit and warm laugh, was the architect of our days, planning dinners, tending to her garden, and running her small bakery downtown. I worked as a financial analyst, my hours long but steady, my world anchored by her presence. We weren't perfect. Arguments flared over forgotten anniversaries or my late nights. But there was a rhythm to us, a certainty I never questioned. That certainty began to fray 6 months ago, though I didn't see it then. Clara started staying late at the bakery, claiming new clients demanded custom orders. Her phone, once an afterthought, became a constant companion, its screen lighting up at odd hours. She'd smile, swipe the notifications away, and say it was just suppliers or her sister, Marianne. I believed her because doubting Clara felt like doubting the sun's rise. But there were moments, small, jagged edges that cut through my trust. A new perfume I hadn't bought, lingering on her scarf. A pair of earrings, delicate and unfamiliar, tucked in her jewelry box. When I asked, she laughed, saying they were gifts from a customer, nothing more. One evening, I came home early, my meeting canceled. The house was dark, Clara's car gone. I called her, but it went to voicemail. Hours later, she breezed in, her cheeks flushed, hair slightly mussed. "Late delivery," she said, kissing my cheek before heading to shower. The scent of that perfume followed her, sharp and foreign. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the wilting roses I'd brought home, their petals curling like my thoughts. Was I imagining things? Clara was my constant, my truth. Yet, as I poured a glass of wine, my hand trembled, not from fatigue but from a gnawing unease I couldn't name. The next week, I noticed her texting someone during dinner, her fingers quick, her eyes darting to me with a smile that didn't reach them. "Work," she said, setting the phone face down. I nodded, but my fork felt heavy, the steak tasteless. That night, I lay awake, her breathing soft beside me, and wondered when her warmth had started feeling distant. I told myself it was stress, hers, mine, ours. But the seed of doubt had taken root, its tendrils curling through memories, tainting them. I began watching her, not with suspicion but with a desperate need to prove myself wrong. I memorized her schedule, noted her absences, cataloged her excuses. Each one stacked like stones, building a wall between what I knew and what I feared. By the time autumn painted our street in gold, I was a man divided, half clinging to love, half haunted by questions. Clara's laughter, once my refuge, now sounded rehearsed. Her touch, once electric, felt like an obligation. I didn't confront her. I wasn't ready to shatter the illusion. Instead, I lived in the in-between, a ghost in my own home, searching for signs I both craved and dreaded. One afternoon, I found a receipt in her coat pocket. Dinner for two at a restaurant I'd never been to, dated a night she'd claimed to be at the bakery. I held it, my pulse loud in my ears, and realized I wasn't just losing her. I was losing myself. The receipt burned a hole in my pocket for days. I carried it like a talisman, unfolding it at work, tracing the numbers. $87.42 for 2 entrees, 2 glasses of wine. The restaurant, La Vigna, was upscale, intimate, a place we'd never gone together. Clara had said she was decorating cakes that night, her hands dusted with sugar. I'd pictured her in her apron, humming, not sipping Merlot with someone else. I didn't ask her about it. Words felt like traps. If I spoke, the truth might spill, and I wasn't ready for its weight. Instead, I became a detective in my own life. I checked her phone when she showered, my heart pounding as I scrolled through messages. Nothing obvious, no blatant confessions, no names I didn't recognize. But there were gaps, deleted threads, conversations that ended abruptly. I hated myself for it, for the sweat on my palms, for the way my love twisted into something sharp. I started driving by the bakery unannounced, parking across the street, watching the windows. Sometimes she was there, laughing with customers. Other times, The lights were off, her car nowhere in sight. One night, I followed her. She'd said she was meeting a supplier, but her dress, new, emerald green, clinging to her curves, wasn't for a business meeting. I tailed her from a distance, my sedan blending into traffic. She drove to a bar downtown, not La Vigna but close enough to make my stomach lurch. I parked, my hands gripping the wheel, and watched her walk inside, her stride confident, her hair catching the neon glow. I didn't follow her in. I sat there, engine idling, imagining her at a table, her hand brushing someone's, her smile not for me. When she came home, I was on the couch, pretending to read. She smelled of gin and that perfume, her eyes bright but guarded. "Good meeting?" I asked, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "Fine," she said, kicking off her heels. "Just boring shop talk." She leaned down, her lips grazing my forehead, and I wanted to grab her, to shake her, to beg for the truth. Instead, I nodded, my fingers curling into fists. That night, I dreamed of a man's silhouette, faceless, standing where I should be, Clara's hand in his. The next day, I hired a private investigator. His name was Victor, a gruff man with tired eyes and a handshake like iron. I gave him the receipt, her schedule, the scraps of my doubt. "Discreet," I said, my voice low, as if saying it aloud made it real. He nodded, no judgment, just a job. Waiting for his reports was torture. I worked late, avoiding Clara's eyes, her questions about my mood. I told myself I was protecting us, that knowing would set me free. But freedom felt like a cliff's edge, and I was already leaning forward. Victor called a week later. "Got something," he said, his voice flat. We met at a diner, the air thick with grease and coffee. He slid a folder across the table. Photos, grainy but unmistakable. Clara at La Vigna, her hand on a man's arm. Clara at the bar, her head tilted toward him, laughing. The man was older, maybe late 40s, with dark hair and a tailored suit. I didn't know him, but his face seared into me. A stranger who'd stolen my world. "Need a name?" Victor asked. I nodded, my throat dry. "Keep digging," I said, my voice not my own. Victor's next report came faster than I expected. A thin envelope left in my mailbox like a grenade with the pin half pulled. I waited until Clara was at the bakery, the house silent except for the hum of the fridge. Sitting at the kitchen table, I opened it, my hands steady but my heart erratic. Inside was a single page. A name, an address, a summary. The man was Daniel Hargrove, 47, a real estate developer with an office downtown. Married, 2 kids, a life that mirrored mine in its outlines but not its cracks. There were more photos. Clara and Daniel at a park, her arm looped through his. Clara stepping into his car, her smile unguarded. Daniel Hargrove. The name was a blade, cutting through the fog I'd lived in. I typed it into my laptop, my fingers clumsy. His face appeared on LinkedIn, polished and confident, a man who owned rooms with his presence. I stared at his eyes, searching for something. Guilt, cruelty, anything to explain why he'd crossed into my life. There was nothing but a professional headshot, a smile that mocked me. I found his company's website, his bio boasting of community projects, charity boards. A good man, the world thought. But good men don't sit across from another man's wife, their hands touching under candlelight. I didn't tell Clara I knew. Couldn't. Speaking his name would make it real, would force me to act, and I wasn't ready for the fallout. Instead, I watched her closer, my love a bruised thing, still alive but bleeding. She sensed something, her hugs lingered, her questions sharpened. "You okay, Tom?" she'd ask, her brow creased. I'd nod, my jaw tight, and change the subject. But every gesture of hers, every word, was filtered through Daniel's shadow. When she laughed at a show, I wondered if she laughed that way with him. When she kissed me, I tasted betrayal, imagined her lips on his. I started tracking Daniel. Not physically, I wasn't that far gone, but online obsessively. His social media was sparse, curated, but I found traces. A photo from a gala, Clara's bakery listed as a sponsor. A comment on a local blog, praising her cakes. He'd been circling her world for months, maybe years, and I'd been blind. I cross-referenced dates, receipts, her late nights. The pattern was clear. Her work aligned with his free evenings. I built a timeline, a map of their deceit. Each point a wound I pressed until it festered. One night I broke. Clara was asleep, her phone charging on her nightstand. I unlocked it. Her passcode hadn't changed in years, and scrolled to her messages. There he was, Dan. A single conversation, recent but vague. "Missed you tonight," he'd written. Her reply, "Soon." My vision blurred, not from tears but rage, a heat that coiled in my chest. I wanted to wake her, to scream his name, to shatter her calm. Instead, I deleted the message, my thumb shaking, and set the phone down. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the dark, planning. Victor called again. "He's careful," he said. "Meets her in public. No hotels. No paper trail beyond dinners." I didn't care about careful. Cared about why. Why her? Why him? Why us? I asked Victor to find Daniel's wife, to learn her routines. "You sure?" he asked, his tone wary. "I'm sure," I said, my voice cold. The idea of revenge hadn't formed yet. Not fully. But it was there. A spark waiting for kindling. I wanted Daniel to hurt, to lose something as vital as what he'd taken from me. And Clara, I didn't know what I wanted from her. Not yet. Daniel's wife was named Elise. Victor's report painted her as a woman of quiet grace, 42. A part-time librarian, volunteer at a children's shelter. Their house, a modern colonial 10 miles from ours, was valued at $1.2 million. Their life a polished surface of soccer games and neighborhood barbecues. Elisa's photo showed a woman with kind eyes, her smile genuine but tired, as if she carried weights no one saw. I stared at it, wondering if she knew, if she felt the same fracture I did. Did she lie awake, counting absences, or was she blissfully unaware, her trust intact? I didn't approach Elise. Not yet. Instead, I dug deeper into Daniel, my nights spent unraveling his world. His company had projects across the city, condos, strip malls, a legacy of concrete and glass. I found articles praising his vision, his charm. But there were whispers too, buried in forums, old reviews from ex-employees. Arrogant, one said. Ruthless, another. I clung to those words, proof he wasn't untouchable. I started visiting his sites, driving by half-built towers, imagining them crumbling. It wasn't enough, but it fed the hunger growing inside me, a need to see him falter. Clara, meanwhile, carried on as if nothing had changed. She baked, she smiled, she asked about my day. But her eyes avoided mine too long, her touches were fleeting. I wondered what she saw when she looked at me. A fool? A safety net? I stopped kissing her back, my lips stiff, my excuses vague. She noticed, her questions sharper now. "What's wrong, Tom?" she asked one morning, her hands flour-dusted from dough. I wanted to hurl the truth at her, to watch her flinch under Daniel's name. Instead, I said, "Nothing," and left for work, my coffee cold in my hand. At the office, I was a shadow, my spreadsheets a blur. My boss noticed, suggested a break. I nodded, but rest wasn't what I needed. I needed answers, leverage, a way to make them pay. I started researching Daniel's business, his finances. Public records showed loans, big ones, tied to his latest project, a luxury high-rise. If it failed, he'd bleed. The thought warmed me, a flicker of control in the chaos. I wasn't a saboteur, not yet, but I imagined it, exposing a flaw, tipping the scales. Revenge was taking shape, its edges sharp. One evening, I saw Elise. Not planned, just chance. I was at a bookstore, browsing thrillers, when she walked in, her arms full of picture books. She smiled at the cashier, her voice soft, and I froze, my books slipping. She didn't know me, didn't see the man whose life her husband had fractured. I watched her pay, her wedding ring catching the light, and felt a pang. Not pity, but kinship. She was me in a way tethered to a lie. I left without buying anything, my mind racing. Elise was a piece of the puzzle, but how to use her? That night, Clara came home late again, her excuse a catering job. I didn't challenge her. I poured her wine, watched her sip, and asked about her day, my voice calm. She talked, her words a performance, and I nodded, my mind elsewhere. I was thinking of Daniel's high rise, of Elisa's smile, of the receipt still hidden in my drawer. I was thinking of ruin, not just theirs but mine if I didn't act. The spark of revenge was aflame now, steady, waiting for fuel. I didn't know what I'd do, not exactly, but I knew it would be cruel, precise, a mirror to the betrayal they'd carved into me. The flame of revenge didn't blind me. It focused me. For the first time in months, I felt awake. My days no longer a slog through doubt, but a hunt for justice. I stopped tailing Clara. I didn't need to. Victor's updates were enough. Her meetings with Daniel, always public, always brief, as if they knew eyes were on them. I wondered if she sensed me pulling away, if she cared. She still played her part. Dinners, small talk, her hand brushing mine. But it was hollow, a script she followed without feeling. I let her perform, my silence a weapon, my thoughts on Daniel. I dug into his high-rise project, the pinnacle, a glass spire meant to redefine the skyline. It was his crown jewel leveraged to the hilt. I wasn't an engineer, but I knew numbers, and his were precarious. Delays, cost overruns, a single misstep could topple it. I started small, anonymous emails to city inspectors, citing concerns about permits, vague but pointed. I used burner accounts, my IP masked. Nothing illegal, just nudges, cracks in his foundation. Victor helped, discreetly, feeding me names of subcontractors, suppliers. One, a concrete firm, had a history of cutting corners. I tipped a local blogger, watched the rumor spread. Elise haunted me, though. I saw her again, at a farmer's market, her kids trailing her, their laughter sharp against my mood. She bought apples, chatted with vendors, her life untouched by the storm I was brewing. I wondered if I should warn her, if her pain could be my leverage. But no, her ignorance was my advantage. I imagined her finding out, not from me but from the wreckage I'd create, her world collapsing as mine had. The thought wasn't joy, it was balance, a scale righted. Clara noticed my distance, her questions turning to pleas. "Talk to me, Tom," she said one night, her eyes wet. I almost broke, almost spilled everything, Daniel, the photos, the receipt. But I saw her phone glow with a new message, her glance at it too quick, and my resolve hardened. "I'm fine," I said, my voice ice. She reached for me, but I turned away, my back a wall. I didn't sleep beside her that night. The guest room was colder, but honest. I lay there, plotting, the pinnacle's blueprints in my mind, its weaknesses my map. Victor called with news. Daniel was meeting investors, his confidence a mask. "He's nervous," Victor said. "Projects over budget." I smiled, a rare thing now. I pushed harder, more tips, more whispers. A safety violation surfaced, minor but public. The blogger ran with it, and Daniel's name trended. Not for glory but scrutiny. I watched Clara, wondering if she knew, if she cared. She baked. She smiled, but her hands shook when she thought I wasn't looking. Good. Let her feel the edges of fear. The cruelty of my plan wasn't in its scale but its precision. I didn't want chaos. I wanted them to see it coming, to know why. Daniel's ruin would be financial, public. A fall from grace he couldn't dodge. Clara's would be slower, personal. She'd lose me, her safety, her lies exposed. Elise was the wild card, her role unclear but vital. I didn't hate her, but she was part of their world, and that world had to burn. I sat at my desk, the receipt now framed in my mind, a reminder of why I'd started. The flame was afire now, and I was ready to let it spread. The fire in me wasn't rage anymore. It was purpose, a clockwork precision guiding every step. Clara's bakery became my lens, not for her cakes but for the secrets baked into its walls. I'd always seen it as her passion, a charming chaos of flour and frosting. Now I saw it as a stage, her late nights a performance I hadn't been invited to watch. Victor's reports confirmed Daniel's visits there. Not as a customer, But after hours, when the sign read closed, I didn't need photos to imagine her unlocking the back door, her smile for him, not me. What made their betrayal strange wasn't the act itself but the props they used. Victor found invoices, buried in her bakery's books, for supplies she never ordered, rare wines, imported cheeses, billed to a shell company tied to Daniel's firm. They weren't just meeting. They were building something, a private world funded by lies. I pictured them in the bakery's kitchen, toasting with glasses I'd never held, laughing over a ledger that mocked my trust. It wasn't enough to ruin Daniel's project. I needed to crack their hidden empire, to expose its absurdity. I started small, subtle. Clara's bakery had a loyal following, her cakes a local legend. I created an anonymous account posting reviews not scathing, but odd. Strange aftertaste, one said. Found a hair, not sure it was mine, another. I seeded doubt not about her skill but her care. Customers noticed. Her social media buzzed with questions. Clara blamed a new supplier, her voice tight when she told me. I nodded, feigning concern, my fingers itching to type more. Each review was a pebble, piling toward an avalanche. At home, Clara was a ghost of herself. Her smiles were brittle, her hands restless. She stopped asking what was wrong, as if afraid of my answer. I didn't confront her, not yet. I wanted her to feel the ground shift, to wonder when it would collapse. One night, she left her laptop open, a spreadsheet glowing. I glanced at it, my pulse quickening. Payments to DH Consulting, thousands unaccounted for. Daniel's initials, his fingerprints on her world. I copied the file to a drive, my hands steady, my mind racing with possibilities. Victor dug deeper into the shell company. It wasn't just a front. It owned a property, a small loft downtown, leased under a fake name. Clara's name wasn't on it, but her bakery's address was a billing error they'd missed. I drove there, a nondescript building with tinted windows. No sign of them, but I imagined it. A hideaway for their toasts, their plans, their mockery of me. The betrayal wasn't just personal. It was theatrical. A script they'd written with me as the fool. I didn't tell Elise yet. She was still a card to play, her ignorance my leverage. But I watched her from afar, her life a mirror to mine before the cracks. At a school event, I saw her cheer for her son, Daniel beside her, his arm around her waist. I stood in the crowd, invisible, my hatred a cold weight. He played the husband well, but I knew his other role. I wondered if Clara knew about Elise, if she cared. Their betrayal wasn't love. It was a game, and I was rewriting the rules. That night, I drafted an email from a ghost account, not to Clara but to her biggest client, a wedding planner who swore by her cakes. Heard she's cutting corners. I wrote, attaching a screenshot of a fake invoice, doctored to look sloppy. I didn't send it, not yet. I saved it, a bullet chambered for the right moment. Revenge wasn't just about Daniel's fall or Clara's shame. It was about dismantling their stage, prop by prop, until they had nowhere to hide. The loft haunted me, its existence a splinter I couldn't pull. I didn't go back, but I paid Victor to watch it. His reports were clinical, lights on at odd hours, Daniel's car parked nearby, Clara's occasionally. No deliveries, no guests, just them, slipping in like thieves. I imagined the space, not lavish but deliberate. A bottle of wine, a couch, a ledger of their schemes. What made it non-standard wasn't the secrecy but the audacity. They'd built a world within mine, using my wife's hands to sign the checks. I pushed harder on the pinnacle. My anonymous tips had sparked inspections, minor fines piling up. A local paper ran a piece, not front page but sharp. Hargrove's high-rise faces delays. Daniel's name was there, his photo smug. I clipped it, taped it inside my desk drawer beside the receipt. Each jab at his empire was a bomb, but not enough. I needed something bigger, something to make him bleed publicly. Victor found it. A subcontractor owed thousands, ready to talk. I fed the man's name to the blogger, who sniffed blood. The story grew, whispers of fraud circling Daniel's crown jewel. Clara felt it too, though she didn't know why. Her bakery's bookings slowed, cancellations trickling in. She blamed the economy, her voice thin when she told me. I offered to help, my tone warm, my eyes cold. Maybe audit the books? I said, watching her flinch. She mumbled about hiring an accountant, her fingers twisting her ring. My ring. I wondered if she wore it with him, if it meant anything anymore. The thought didn't hurt. It fueled me, each lie a brick in my plan. I started pulling strings beyond the bakery. Daniel's charity board, a point of pride, had cracks, donors who'd grumbled about misspent funds. I posed as a concerned citizen, emailed the board's chair with questions, vague but pointed. No accusations, just doubts, enough to make them look twice. Victor confirmed a meeting was called, Daniel's name on the agenda. I smiled, imagining his charm faltering, his excuses thin. He'd built a castle of glass and I was throwing stones. Elise was the next thread. I didn't want her pain. Not yet. But I needed her aware, her trust fraying. I sent her a letter, anonymous, typed, no trace. Ask Daniel about DH Consulting. It said nothing more. I mailed it from a post office across town. My hat low, my pulse steady. It wasn't cruel, not like what was coming, but it was a seed, one I hoped would grow. I pictured her reading it, her brow creasing, her questions sharpening. Let Daniel squirm under her gaze, not just mine. Clara came home one night, her face pale. Lost the wedding contract, she said, her voice breaking. I hugged her, my arms mechanical, my words soft. You'll recover, I lied, knowing the email in my draft folder could end her reputation. I didn't send it yet. Timing was everything. Instead, I watched her crumble, her confidence eroding. She didn't suspect me. She couldn't. But she felt the world tilting, her control slipping. I poured her tea, my hand steady, my mind on the loft, the invoices, the life she'd chosen over ours. By now, my life was a dual track. The husband who smiled, who paid bills, who kissed her cheek, and the shadow who plotted, who typed in the dark, who dreamed of their ruin. The non-standard part wasn't their betrayal, it was mine, the way I mirrored their game. They'd built a secret world. I was building its destruction, not with shouts but whispers, not with blows but nudges. I wasn't Tom anymore, not fully. I was something sharper, something they'd made, and they'd see it soon. The blogger's post hit like a spark in dry grass. Hargrove's pinnacle, fraud or fumble? It read, naming the subcontractor, quoting his unpaid bills. Daniel's photo was there, his smile strained at a gala. Comments exploded, locals, rivals, strangers piling on. I read it at my desk, my coffee cold, my heart steady. It wasn't enough to topple him, but it was a wound, public and raw. Victor called. He's scrambling. Investors are asking questions. I nodded, silent, my mind on the next move. Clara's bakery was bleeding now. 2 more clients pulled out, citing concerns. She spent nights at her desk, her laptop's glow a halo of panic. I offered help, my voice gentle, my eyes scanning her screen. Another invoice slipped through, DH Consulting, $5,000, no description. I memorized it, added it to my drive, my arsenal growing. She didn't notice my distance anymore. She was too busy saving her world. I wondered if she told Daniel, if they whispered about the cracks, blaming anyone but me. I visited the loft again, not to enter but to see. It was dusk, the street quiet. Daniel's car was there, Clara's parked a block away. I stood in the shadows, my breath fogging, watching the windows. A light flicked on, their silhouettes brief but clear. Her hand on his shoulder, his head bowed. It wasn't intimacy I saw. It was strategy. A huddle against a storm they didn't understand. I didn't feel pain, only clarity. Their betrayal was a machine, and I was learning its gears. Elisa's letter must have landed. Victor saw her at Daniel's office, her face tight, her visit unannounced. He didn't know what she said, but Daniel left early, his jaw set. I imagined her questions, his deflections, the first threads of her trust unraveling. I didn't send another letter. One was enough. Let her dig, let her doubt. She wasn't my target, but but she was his anchor, and I'd loosen it, let him drift into the chaos I was crafting. I escalated at the pinnacle. A second subcontractor, nudged by Victor's cash, went public, claiming shoddy materials. The blogger ate it up, the story trending locally. A city council member tweeted concern, calling for a review. Daniel's name was mud now, not everywhere but where it hurt, his investors, his peers. I saw him at a coffee shop, his tie loose, his phone pressed to his ear. He didn't see me, didn't know the man 3 tables away was rewriting his life. I sipped my latte, my pulse calm, my plan ticking like a clock. Clara broke one night, not to me but to her sister. I overheard her on the phone, her voice low, cracked. "It's falling apart," she said. Not about us but the bakery, her dream. I stood in the hall, unseen, my breath held. She didn't mention Daniel, but his shadow was there. In her pauses, her fear. I didn't comfort her. I couldn't. Instead, I opened my laptop, finalized the email to her wedding planner. I didn't send it yet, but it was ready, a guillotine waiting to fall. The non-standard betrayal wasn't just their meetings, their money. It was their arrogance, thinking I'd stay blind. They'd woven a tapestry of lies, intricate, almost beautiful. I was unpicking it, thread by thread, not to destroy but to reveal. Revenge wasn't loud. It was patient, a mirror to their game. I'd show them what they'd made. A man who loved, who trusted, now a weaver of their ruin. I closed my laptop, the house dark, and smiled. The clock was ticking louder. The Pinnacle's troubles were front page now. A third subcontractor sued, claiming unpaid wages, and the city halted construction for a safety review. Daniel's face was everywhere. Papers, blogs, even a local news segment. His charm buried under scrutiny. I watched it unfold from my office, my screen a window to his fall. Victor texted, "He's meeting lawyers daily. Investors pulling out." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Each headline was a brick in the wall I'd built, closing him in. Clara was unraveling faster. The bakery's phone stopped ringing. Her staff cut to one. She came home late, her eyes red, her excuses gone. I didn't ask where she'd been. I knew. The loft, Daniel, their crumbling empire. I cooked dinner, my hands steady, my voice light. "Rough day," I said, passing her pasta. She nodded, barely eating, her ring loose on her finger. I wondered if she'd seen Daniel's news, if she blamed him, if she blamed herself. I didn't care, not anymore. I sent the email to the wedding planner. "Check her invoices," it said, attaching the doctored one, sloppy enough to raise flags. By morning, the planner called Clara, her voice sharp through the phone. Clara paced, her answers frantic, promising audits, refunds. I listened from the stairs, my coffee warm, my heart cold. The bakery wasn't dead, but it was limping, its reputation a ghost. I didn't stop there. Another review, another whisper, each one a needle in her pride. Elise was moving now, not toward me but Daniel. Victor saw her at the Pinnacle site, alone, her face unreadable. She'd found something, maybe my letter, maybe more. I didn't know, didn't need to. Her doubt was enough. A crack in Daniel's foundation wider than mine. I pictured him explaining, his voice smooth, her eyes narrowing. Let him lie, let him sink. I sent a second letter, riskier. The loft. Ask him. No address, just enough to twist the knife. I mailed it, my gloves on, my pulse a drum. The non-standard piece was their delusion. They'd thought their world was separate, untouchable. A play I'd never see. But I'd read their script, learned their lines. The loft wasn't just a place. It was their hub, their ledger, their stage. I didn't need to break in. I'd break its meaning. Victor found a contact, a city clerk who owed him. I asked for a property check, anonymous, citing zoning issues. The clerk filed it, a small thing, but enough to flag the loft, to make them sweat. Clara noticed my calm, mistook it for distance. "You're never here," she said one night, her voice sharp. I looked at her, her face a map of guilt and fear, and felt nothing. "I'm right here," I said, my tone flat. She reached for my hand. I let her hold it, her touch a memory I didn't want. I was beyond her now, beyond their game. I was the mirror, reflecting their lies, sharpening them into blades. That night, I dreamed of the loft, not as it was but as a stage, Clara and Daniel in costume, their masks slipping. I stood in the audience, silent, my hands full of strings. When I woke, my plan was clear. Not just ruin, but exposure, a spotlight on their farce. I opened my laptop, started a new file. Names, dates, invoices, their world in rows and columns. It wasn't enough to break them. I'd make them see themselves, their betrayal a mirror they couldn't escape. The loft was flagged by the city, a notice sent to the shell company's address, Clara's Bakery. Victor saw her open it, her face pale, her hands shaking. She didn't tell me, didn't mention the zoning violation that threatened their hideaway. I watched her that night, her eyes darting to her phone, her texts to Daniel frantic. I assumed. I poured her wine, my smile soft, my mind on the notice, a small bomb I'd planted. It wouldn't evict them, not yet, but it was a warning, a crack in their stage. Daniel's pinnacle was a corpse now, its funding gutted, its skeleton frozen mid-build. A rival developer circled, sniffing a takeover. The papers called it a collapse. Daniel's name a synonym for failure. I read each article, my breakfast untouched, my satisfaction quiet. Victor confirmed he was selling assets, cars, stocks, anything to stay afloat. I wondered if Clara knew, if she saw him weakening, if she cared. Their empire was dust and I was the wind. Clara's Bakery was next. The wedding planner's audit spread, other clients sniffing for fraud. A health inspector, tipped by me, found issues. Minor, but enough for a fine. A headline. Local bakery falters. The story read, Clara's photo small but clear. She cried when she saw it, her face buried in her hands. I held her, my arms a lie, my words empty. It'll pass, I said, knowing it wouldn't. I'd sent another email to a food critic hinting at mismanagement. The dominoes were falling, each one my hand. Elise was the wild card now. Victor saw her at the loft, not with Daniel but alone, her key glinting. She'd found it, maybe through my letter, maybe her own digging. She stayed an hour, left with a box, papers maybe or worse. I didn't know, but I felt the shift, the game tilting. Daniel was fraying, Victor said, his meetings canceled, his phone off. I pictured him cornered, Elise's questions a cage. I didn't need to see it. I'd built it. The non-standard betrayal was their ambition, their belief they could rewrite our lives without consequence. They'd played gods, their loft a temple, their invoices a scripture. I was their heretic, dismantling their faith. I didn't want apologies. I wanted them naked, their lies exposed, their world a stage with no curtains. I met Victor at the diner, his folder thicker now, bank records, emails, proof of their shell. Enough to bury them, he said. I nodded, my plan complete, my heart a stone. That night, Clara packed a bag, said she needed space. I didn't stop her, didn't ask where. I knew. The loft, Daniel, their last stand. I let her go, my door unlocked, my laptop open. The file was ready, names, dates, their world in black and white. I'd send it soon, not to her, not to him, but to everyone. Clients, papers, Elise. The curtain was twitching, the spotlight warming. Their play was ending, and I'd write the final act. Clara didn't come home that night, her bag gone, her absence a confirmation I didn't need. The house was silent, its walls echoing her lies, but I didn't mourn. I sat at my desk, the file open. Every invoice, every email, every thread of their secret world woven into a noose. The loft was their stage, the bakery their cover, and I was their critic, ready to write the review that would end their play. I didn't rush. Timing was my ally. Each hour she spent with Daniel was another nail, their desperation my hammer. Victor called at dawn. She's at the loft, he said, his voice flat. He's there too. They're packing papers, boxes. I pictured it. Clara's hands trembling, Daniel's jaw tight. Their empire crumbling under fluorescent lights. The city's notice had spooked them. The zoning flag a ghost they couldn't shake. I'd done that, not with shouts but whispers, not with fists but keys. I thanked Victor, my voice steady, and opened my laptop. The email was drafted to Clara's clients, Daniel's investors, the local press. One click and their world would burn. I held off not from mercy but strategy. I wanted them to feel the walls closing, to taste their own fear. The pinnacle was dead now, its site a skeleton, Daniel's name poison. A rival bought it for pennies, the papers gleeful. Clara's bakery was a ghost town. Its windows dark, its sign fading. I'd sent the critics email, her review scathing, mismanaged, unreliable. Bookings vanished, her staff quit. She'd called me once, her voice cracked, begging for help. I'd listened, silent, then hung up. She didn't know I was the storm. Elise was moving faster than I'd planned. Victor saw her at a lawyer's office, her face stone, a folder in her hand. My letters had worked, her digging had found the loft, the shell company, maybe more. I didn't care what. Her doubt was my weapon, her questions Daniel's cage. I sent a final note. Riskiest yet. The bakery's books. Look closer. No signature, just enough to point her to Clara's invoices. Their shared guilt. I mailed it, my gloves on, my heart a drum. Elise would be their judge, not me. The non-standard betrayal wasn't just their meetings, their money. It was their audacity, thinking they could rewrite my life as a footnote. They'd built a playhouse, their loft a set, their lies a script. I wasn't tearing it down. I was rewriting it, my pen sharper than their dreams. I drove by the bakery, its closed sign a trophy. A neighbor stopped me, asked if Clara was okay. She's fine. I lied, my smile tight. Inside, I saw her flour-dusted apron, her laugh, her betrayal, and felt nothing but purpose. I met Victor one last time, his folder final. Bank transfers, lease records, proof their shell funded not just the loft but trips, dinners, a life I'd never touched. Enough for court, he said. I nodded, but court wasn't my stage. I wanted ruin, not justice, ruin they'd see, feel, breathe. I paid him his handshake brief and drove home. The file grew, my laptop a vault of their sins. I didn't sleep. I planned, the clock ticking, the curtain rising. Clara texted me, "Need to talk." I didn't reply. Let her wait. Let her wonder. She'd chosen Daniel, the loft, their game. I'd chosen truth. Not hers but mine. A truth I'd carve into their lives. The email was ready, its recipients a chorus. Clients, peers, strangers who'd watched their fall. I poured a whiskey, my hand steady, and stared at the screen. The stage was set, the shadows deep, and I was ready to pull the strings. Clara came home at noon, her bag heavier, her eyes hollow. She stood in the kitchen, her hands twisting, her voice a thread. "Tom, I'm sorry," she said, not meeting my gaze. I leaned against the counter, my coffee warm, my face a mask. "For what?" I asked, my tone light, a blade hidden. She faltered, her words a jumble. Stress, the bakery, her absence. No mention of Daniel, the loft, their world. I nodded, letting her lie, each word fuel for the fire I'd lit. I didn't confront her. Confrontation was too small, too loud. I wanted her to unravel in silence, to choke on her own script. She stayed that day, moving like a guest, her touches tentative. I played my part, dinner, small talk, my smiles calculated. She didn't notice the laptop locked, the file ready, the email unsent. I watched her clean the counter, her hands slow, and wondered if she felt the spotlight warming, the audience gathering. She didn't know I'd rewritten her ending. Daniel was breaking. Victor's last update was brief. He'd sold his house, Elise gone, his office empty. The Pinnacle's collapse had gutted him, the lawsuits piling. I saw him once, by chance, at a gas station, his suit wrinkled, his eyes dead. He didn't see me, didn't know the man pumping gas was his architect. I drove away, my radio off, my mind on the loft. Their stage, now a trap. The city had seized it, the zoning flag a lock I'd turned. They had nowhere left to hide. Elise was my phantom now. Victor lost her trail after the lawyer, but her shadow lingered. I pictured her with the folder, the invoices, her life a mirror to mine, shattered but sharp. I didn't need her anymore. She'd done enough, her doubt a virus in Daniel's world. I wondered if she'd face Clara, if they'd meet in the ruins I'd made. The thought didn't warm me. It steadied me, a balance to their betrayal, a scale tipped by my hand. The non-standard piece was their blindness. They thought their play was private, their roles untouchable. I'd made it public, not with screams but whispers, not with blows but light. The email was my spotlight, its words a script of their own. Clara's bakery funded a secret. Daniel's money built a lie. Attached was the file dates, transfers, the loft's lease, their empire in rows. I added photos, grainy but clear. Clara's hand on his arm, their silhouettes in the loft. Not proof but truth enough to burn. I sent it at midnight, my finger steady, my whiskey gone. Recipients, her clients, his peers, the blogger, the critic, the press. CC Elise, her address a guess but close enough. No subject, just the file, its weight a guillotine. I pictured their phones lighting up, their inboxes filling, their worlds cracking. Clara slept upstairs, unaware, her bag unpacked. Daniel, wherever he was, would wake to ruin. I closed my laptop, the house dark, and waited for the curtain to rise. By morning it had. My phone buzzed, texts from neighbors, a call from Clara's sister. "What's happening?" they asked, their voices sharp. I didn't answer. I checked the news. The blogger broke it first. Bakery scandal tied to developer's fall. Clara's name, Daniel's, the loft, all there. Not in full but enough. Social media churned. Her bakery's page flooded. His firm's site down. I sipped my coffee, my pulse calm, the spotlight glaring. Clara found out at breakfast. Her phone lit up, her face draining as she scrolled. She didn't look at me, didn't speak, just stood, her mug crashing to the floor. Coffee pooled, dark as her panic, and I watched, my toast untouched, my eyes on her. "Tom," she whispered, her voice a plea, but I didn't move. She grabbed her keys, her bag, and ran, the door slamming. I didn't follow. I knew where she'd go. Daniel, the loft, their broken stage. The news spread like ink in water. The paper ran it, local bakery, developer linked in financial scheme. Not fraud, not yet, but the word hung heavy, their names bold. Clara's bakery was done, its accounts frozen, clients suing. Daniel's firm was a husk, his assets seized, his name a curse. I read each update, my office quiet, my colleagues unaware the man in the corner had written the story. I didn't smile. Satisfaction wasn't joy, just balance, a debt paid. Elise surfaced, not to me but the press. She'd given them the folder, bank records, the loft's lease, proof I hadn't seen but mirrored my file. My letters had sparked her, but she'd found more, her pain sharper than mine. She didn't name Clara, not directly, but her words cut. He betrayed us all. I saw her on TV, her face calm, her eyes steel. I didn't need her thanks. She'd been my mirror, her ruin my echo, her truth my blade. Clara called me, her voice a sob. "It wasn't what you think," she said, her words tumbling business, mistakes, no harm meant. I listened, my phone cold, my silence colder. "Come home," I said, not because I wanted her but because I needed her to see. She did. Hours later, her face swollen, her ring gone. She stood in the living room, her bag at her feet, and I handed her the receipt. $87.42, La Vigna, the night she'd lied. "Start there," I said, my voice low. She crumpled, her confession irrelevant. The non-standard betrayal was their theater. They'd cast me as the fool, their loft a set, their lies a play. I turned it outward, made the world their audience, their shame their costume. Revenge wasn't a blow. It was a mirror, showing them their lines, their roles, their end. I didn't shout, didn't strike. I exposed, my file their script, my email their stage. Clara sat, her hands shaking, and I felt nothing. Not love, not hate, just completion. A story closed. Daniel vanished. Victor heard he'd left town, his car sold, his accounts empty. I didn't care where, he was gone, his empire ash, his name a warning. I pictured him alone, his charm useless, his mirror cracked. Elise was rebuilding, the news said, her kids with her life small but hers. I didn't contact her. She'd played her part, as I'd played mine. The loft was empty. The city's now, its secrets spilled. I stayed in the house, not for Clara but for me. She left again, her bag lighter, her eyes dead. I didn't stop her. She wasn't mine, hadn't been for months. The bakery sign came down, the Pinnacle sight raised. I drove by both, my windows up, my radio off. The world moved on, but I'd carved my mark. A truth they'd carry. A play they'd never forget. Clara didn't come back. Her sister called, said she'd moved to her place. Then out of state, no address given. I didn't ask. I didn't need to. Her bakery was sold. Its debts unpaid. Its name a footnote in a fraud probe. The loft was auctioned. Its contents, papers, bottles, a couch, scattered to strangers. I saw a photo online, the space bear, its stage struck. I didn't visit. I'd seen enough. My file was deleted, its purpose served, my laptop clean. The cruelty wasn't in their loss, though they lost everything, but in their clarity. I'd made them see, not just me but themselves, their lies naked under the light. Clara's last look, Daniel's dead eyes, Elise's steel. They'd faced their script, its lines mine. The non-standard betrayal was their dream. A world they'd built to erase me, its props absurd. Invoices for wine, a loft for whispers, a bakery for masks. I didn't destroy it. I showed it, my revenge a mirror, not a hammer. I lived alone now, the house too big, its echoes mine. Neighbors stopped asking, their pity fading. I worked, I ate, I slept, my life a rhythm, not a song. The receipts stayed in my drawer, not a trophy but a reminder. Trust breaks, but truth cuts deeper. I didn't hate Clara, didn't miss her. She'd chosen her role as I'd chosen mine. Daniel was a ghost, his name fading, his fall complete. Elise was free, her story hers, not mine. I thought about the loft sometimes, its windows dark, its purpose gone. I imagined them there, their last night, packing, arguing, their voices sharp. Did they blame each other? Did they see me not as Tom but as their shadow? Their end? I didn't care. The play was over, the seats empty, the stage bare. I'd written the finale, not with noise but silence, not with pain but truth. I poured a whiskey, my glass cold, and toasted the quiet. The world forgot them as it forgets most scandals. A new bakery opened, the Pinnacle site a park now, kids running where steel once stood. I walked there once, my shoes wet, my thoughts clear. The betrayal wasn't theirs anymore. It was mine, a story I'd told, a truth I'd shaped. I didn't need applause. I needed balance, and I'd found it. Its weight heavy but mine. I sold the house, the papers signed, the keys gone. I didn't look back, didn't need to. Clara's ring was in a box, Daniel's photo in a shredder, Elise's face a memory. The receipt I kept, its ink faded, its power spent. I moved to a condo, small, new, my life a blank page. I didn't write on it, not yet. I lived, my steps light, my mirror clear. The cruelty was done, its edge not in their pain but their awakening. They'd see me forever, not as the husband but the director. Their play mine, their end my pen. Months passed, the seasons turning, my life a quiet hum. I didn't track Clara, didn't search for Daniel, didn't write to Elise. Their story was over, its pages turned, my role complete. The condo was mine now, its walls bare, its silence honest. I worked, my numbers steady, my colleagues unaware of the man I'd been. I ate alone, my meals simple, my thoughts my own. The receipts stayed in a drawer, not opened but there, a period to a sentence I'd finished. I saw Clara once, by chance, at a market in a neighboring town. She was thinner, her hair short, her eyes scanning stalls. No ring, no smile, just a woman carrying a bag, her steps slow. She didn't see me, didn't know the man by the apples was her author. I watched her pay, her hands quick, and felt nothing. Not pity, not pride, just distance, a play long closed. I left, my cart empty, my heart still. Daniel's name surfaced once. A footnote in a bankruptcy filing. His assets gone. His life elsewhere. I didn't read further. His fall was old news, his shadow short. Elise was in a magazine, a small feature on her shelter work, her face softer now, her kids grown. I didn't clip it, didn't need to. She'd been my echo, her truth my spark. But her story was hers, not mine. I closed the page, my coffee warm, my day unbroken. The non-standard betrayal was their illusion. They'd thought their world was real, their loft a castle, their lies a crown. I'd shown it for what it was. A set, flimsy, its props absurd. The invoices, the wine, the secret dinners, they'd played at God's, rewriting me as nothing. My revenge was cruel, not in its scale but its mirror, reflecting their farce, making them read their lines. I didn't break them. I revealed them, their shame their own. I walked the park sometimes, the pinnacle's ghost gone, its grass green. Kids laughed, couples sat, the world indifferent. I didn't mourn there, didn't gloat. I lived, my steps sure, my mirror clean. The cruelty was done, not in their ruin but their clarity. They'd see me in every shadow, every loss, my hand in their script. I didn't need their pain. I needed their truth, and I'd carved it, sharp and deep. One night I burned the receipt. Not for closure, but because it was done, its ink irrelevant, its story told. The fire was small, my patio dark, my whiskey cold. I watched it curl, its edges ash, and felt no weight lift, no chain break. I'd been the husband, the shadow, the director, and now I was Tom, nothing more, nothing less. The play was over, its actors gone, its stage dust. I didn't write another act, didn't need to. My life was enough, small, quiet, mine. The betrayal, the revenge, the mirror, they were chapters, not the book. I lived, my days my own, my nights clear. The curtain had fallen, the bow taken, the audience gone. I poured another glass, the stars above, and toasted the silence. My story complete, my truth my own.